The offensive line, big concern point on this team, even after free agency and the draft, and in particular, Tytus Howard. Of all the guys that we feel most confident in, that we know is going to be starting day one, if healthy, Tytus Howard. Just don't really have an understanding of where. Nick Caserio kind of shed some lights on how they feel and what they're looking at when it comes to Tytus Howard.
I would say specific to Tytus, that's an example of a player that he's actually shown that he can play at a good level at either spot. So there is sort of an innate level of versatility. I think sometimes that term is used a little, I would say not carelessly or freely, but that the assumption is a player just has position versatility because of A, certain measurables, or B, should be able to do it. But if you've actually never seen him do it, it's hard to make that extrapolation and make that assessment. And you're really not going to know with that player until you actually get into training camp because it's a little bit of a dynamic.
All right, that was Nick Caserio talking about Tytus Howard. Before you get into your thoughts on what he had to say there, Clint, real quick, something he said in there. Do you agree that he has shown that he can play at a good level at that spot?
No, I think he is one guy that has proven to have the ability to play guard and tackle, and you've seen really, really good at both positions. I think there's probably been some inconsistencies that when you're playing a guy, flipping him from the right side to the left side, flipping him from tackle to guard. I think that's cutting the guy a little bit of slack, maybe showing a little bit of grace is probably fair.
Yeah.
I think in the way look, let's be honest. I think Nick worded that the way that he did on purpose. I think he said he's played both good. He used the term good.
Very specific.
Now, I believe Tytus would tell you that he'd like to play tackle and be great. And let's be honest, you paid him like he plays tackle, and he's been great at right tackle. But there's a lot of truth to what Nick said there. There's some true position flexibility there with Tytus Howard.
Yeah, to the point that he made good. Yes, we saw him. Hell, he had a great game, one game against Chris Jones several years ago when he first started to venture out to the guard thing. I think the other part is consistent. How is he consistently good at the guard position? I think I'm pretty confident, maybe some of you may disagree, but I'm pretty confident that he could be consistently good as a tackle. I think we've seen that. I wonder if that is the case at guard. And I also do this, fellas. His play was just so much of an improvement of what they were getting out of that position that I don't even know if I've even fairly really watched it and thought, man, has he, how good was he? Because it was just the comparison to what Kenyon Green was giving you, and you look over and it was just no, it wasn't a turnstile. It wasn't just guys just immediately giving pressure. He got everybody sucked before him type bump. In which how we felt about him, and maybe that makes you feel, but I just I don't even really remember. I just remember it wasn't just a train wreck like it was prior to him getting in there. I'm not even really sure how great he played.
I think he had the same struggles that I think everybody. That the biggest problem was with this offensive line, which was communication, and he's clearly a better player and a more experienced player than really anybody that was playing inside. Really anybody not named Laramie Tunsil. He's more experienced than, so he was able to recover and able to overcome some issues, but it was still ugly offensive line play simply because the communication. He didn't know who he had. He didn't the communication pre-snap in identifying who you have and what you're going to do. The communication post-snap and communicating, hey, man, here's, we're getting a potential twist. That was not good. So he struggled because of all of those things, and there were more bad moments than there were really good moments, and so that there's nobody on that offensive line that didn't struggle due to the communication issues. The most talented guy, Laramie Tunsil, he overcame in pass protecting situations more times than not. But as a whole, the offensive line struggled big time, and guys played well below their ceiling because of those communication issues. And I don't think Tytus is void of that being a real issue, or having been a real issue for him.
Yeah, I think they've all but said it, Clint, where he's going to play next year.
Yeah, look,
and it adds up to that.
Yeah, I think that to me, again, I don't. You know, I think he would be I think he'd be a lot better than just a good right tackle. Like I think he would have potential or left tackle. I think he would. You put him there. One, I think the player's happy. I think athletically, I think his skill set actually fits the movement at the tackle position more so than the movement and the requirements at the guard position. So I think that's going to be the hurdle here is and I don't fault him. I would not fault Tytus Howard for this. But if they're playing with his emotions now, that's going to be a problem, right? I mean, this has got to be a situation where we're going on 3 years now of Tytus Howard putting in his Twitter bio that he's a right tackle and that he's a tackle and he's this and he's that. You move Laramie Tunsil, you think, hey, man, you can't tell me. We weren't the only one. You can't tell me that Tytus Howard didn't go, okay, now am I the next left tackle on this team? Am I going to get an opportunity there to go earn that in my next contract? Like, it's human nature to think that way. So, you know,
I would hope they have had conversations with him.
Well, how they play this is going to be interesting. It wouldn't surprise me at all if they haven't had conversations. I would like to think that they have, but with this crew, it wouldn't surprise me at all if they have not had those conversations. It seems to me with Nick's answers today, we can't play all of them for you. If you want to go back, the 7:30 hour segment with the Payne and Pendergast this morning, you hear the whole thing. But it to me, the way that Nick Caserio tip tackle, good. He's shown the position flexibility. It seems to me like the news hadn't been broke to Tytus Howard. Hey, man, you're a guard, boss.
Oh, man, no.
I didn't
even think about that until you just brought that up.
Well,
they have had to have talked to him about it. It can't because, like, obviously, Clint, Tytus can see the numbers and add, too. Like, he can see, they brought in Cam Robinson. They gave him $14 million. They ain't just doing it for him to sit down. They brought in Trent Brown. They drafted Blake Fisher last year.
Yeah.
They drafted a tackle, and we're going to let you hear what D'Amico, and Nick echoed it today, what D'Amico had to say about the tackle Ursery, who they brought in. Like, that's a bunch of tackles. I would just hope they're not just, they ain't said nothing to him yet.
Yeah, no. The tackle thing is clearly, it's hard to ignore if you're Tytus Howard, but still, you've been in the organization for forever. It feels like you've been told. I'd imagine multiple times that you're a tackle, and it just strikes me as this is like Nick Caserio went on today to talk about how you got guys that are tackles that can also play guard, and you got guards that can play center, you got guards that can play all three interior position, inside positions. Like the tiptoeing around, handling with kid gloves. It just strikes me as we're not ready to tell Tytus and call Tytus a guard yet. Now, their actions will obviously say that, but it strikes me as, hey, man, you're going to be a guard. I mean, we're still talking about this offseason. Nick talking about, now's the time to experiment ultimately and try all the different things and techniques and positions and all that stuff. I mean, you've seen enough football with Tytus Howard at guard and tackle. There's no need to experiment in the offseason with Tytus Howard. You've seen everything you need to know about guard and tackle. You've seen it all. Like good, bad, and ugly. You know exactly what the strengths and weaknesses are with Tytus Howard at both positions. And, I would like to think, which I don't believe it's happened, as I mentioned, I would like to think that there's a sit-down coming where they say, hey, man, you're a guard, boss.
He has to know it. I haven't looked at his Twitter bio yet. A minute, I
hadn't looked at it either.
That just has to be a conversation that's had.
I would
because
think
the word like the thing that I have said is, listen, I'm not going to come off of it. Like, I don't love him at guard. Never have. I remember sitting up at that Buffalo Wild Wings 2 years ago, planting my flag. Like, don't ever put him back over there. And then having to turn face on that because it was so bad last year. Like, the thing is, I know he won't be a train wreck, and he won't get CJ killed. I don't know if it's the best thing to improve, but I know he won't get him killed. But surely the thing that I appreciate was like, all right, if he's going to play guard at least you bring him in the offseason, and he has the entire offseason, and he has no confusion of where he's going to go, because every time he's had in the middle of the season as an emergency, and not just like, all right, I know I'm going to be playing this position, and I know this is what I need to do and get ready for.
Right.
He just had to switch, which is, as you've said, completely other side of the line that he lines up on, with a different hand that he puts down. So I did think that part of it, but the worst thing about it is having a maybe irritated, pissed off Titus Howard playing guard and not being, and not going into it understanding and comfortable, and just been sprung.
Well, yeah, and here's the thing though, that's he's not a good enough player to do that. Like that's the problem with, and I don't think he's the kind of player to do it either. By the way, we've talked a lot about, I don't think Titus is a rock the boat guy. I think Titus is a fall in line type of player, and if you tell him, hey, you're going to play guard, you're going to play guard, and this is what it is. We paid you like a tackle. You better be lucky you're making the money you're making, and you ask as a guard.
But he's pass-aggressive.
Look,
he'll put out a tweet or put in his bio.
Why wouldn't he? His
right
mentor,
tackle.
his mentor, that stuff his mentor would do. But yeah, look, to me, it's Nick and D'Amico need to sit down with the kid and tell him, hey man, look, you're gonna play guard, and we're gonna do guard things. We're going to do guard things moving forward. All the position-specific work that you get in the offseason, what little we do get with you and what little you do put in, we're going to get. It's going to be guard. It's going to be guard oriented. It's going to be guard sitting up and getting wide and handling a D end and edge rusher in space. It's going to be in tight quarters. It's going to be out of a 3-point stance. Inside and communicating with the center and the other guard, and that's what I think is the right thing to do by the guy. The one thing, and I can see Nick doing this because Nick is just the way they operate. I think, especially when it's guys not named Laramie Tunsil. This is a do what you're asked to do your job. Yeah. And if you're out there telling him he's a tackle and a guard, I could see the young fella getting real frustrated at that.
Yes. That's what I'm saying.
Instead of just being up front.
That's why I believe, I don't know why I do. And I probably should be the thought process that you have, because the way they are saying it, they are making it seem like they don't know. And I'm just thinking that's gamesmanship maybe to others. But I just have to believe that Titus Howard has a clear idea of where he's going to be. Right? Like, he is the only lineman there that you would look at and say, I know he's going to be one of the 5. Like without 100% guarantee, I know he's going to be one of the 5 because he can play multiple spots. I just got to believe that Joker knows where he's playing. I know the look you're giving me now.
Look, I'm just telling you, it wouldn't shock me if you hadn't had a conversation with him about it. It wouldn't shock me one bit. I think that especially in the offensive.
Now the stuff you're talking about with D'Amico yesterday is starting to come into
play. Especially
if that's the case.
Well, look, they're trying to create in that offensive line room is you got to earn everything. We're not going to have guys that feel entitled. We're not going to have guys that think they're above what's best for the team. I mean, you think about what they're trying to do in that offensive line room. And now we're gonna go around and we're gonna handle certain guys with kid gloves again, and we're just gonna have certain conversations with certain guys. It wouldn't shock me one bit if it wasn't happening.
Yeah, someone texted.
This is a shut up, especially the offensive line. Shut up and do your job. Earn your keep.
All right, that's a route to go, as you said. Who his mentor is? From someone texted, or from the YouTube and Twitch 99 Reasons. Titus is whatever they need him to be, period. Not that complicated, fellas. Yeah, as Clint said, I think ultimately
I disagree. It is complicated.
He'll be that, but ultimately, this is a guy that just went unprompted to his social media and said, "I'm a right tackle only." After he had been moved to guard, he came into the season right tackle only. Clearly to let you know that what his wishes are, and where he is, and that he's not just, hey man, happy to play. I'll play wherever I want to. And I don't even think it's being soft with somebody. I just think it's an understand, like, hey man, we got a guy here we want to make sure we want to make sure the communication is clear and everybody knows what they're going to do, and not just say, hey man, all right here man, training camp, look man, this is where you're going to play.
Yeah, it is. I mean, if you're a fan that looks at it as that texter does, then so be it. I ain't gonna tell him I had a fan, but it's very complicated for him. Right tackle to left guard is very complicated. Keeping this, having a whole career in Houston where it was just like, hey Titus, you might play right tackle, you might play left guard, whatever the hell we need. Like, that's complicated. Like that, you're in his pocket big time for his next contract. I mean, it is complicated, and the O-line issues. I mean, it's one of the biggest problems. It's not the biggest problem in Houston. It was one of the top 3 or 4 biggest issues in the NFL. Yeah. Not protecting C.J. Stroud. I mean, that's a big ass deal, and it is very, very complicated. Absolutely, it is.